Welcome to today's myofascial moment. We're going to work a lot with the upper body today. This is something I vastly need. A lot of my original trouble, the diagnosable trouble, was headaches. Were headaches significant, stabbing up through the base of my skull, down into my shoulder blade on this right side. I still tend to get tension when I have neglected my own myofascial self-treatment. Hence, we are here today. So with headaches, with any sort of tension from upper shoulders up into the head, with eye pain, with TMJ pain, a lot of times what happens is everything in the front here just gets pulled forward and it hurts back here. And a lot of times traditional therapies tend to work back here, but the problem's all in here. We get just pulled forward and start to actually collapse. Our sternum gets rigid, our collarbones get rigid. We can't move here very well. So the self-treatment I like, some of the self-treatment I like, is opening through all of this front of the neck is one of the things we're gonna do right now. Next 10-15 minutes, this is gonna be my myofascial moment. So again, I have a good firm chair. I want something I can get my feet solid on the floor. I need a bit of support against my back. I also want to be able to feel the support under my pelvis. As much as possible, I'm going to sit nice and tall so that my spine is supported and settled onto my pelvis. I don't want to slump, I don't want to collapse, I want to stay nice and tall. So find the chair that's right for you. You might prefer the floor. You might prefer to have a wall to support you instead of the back of a chair. And if it is a soft, comfy chair, totally fine. Find what works for you. Now with this, I've got my collarbones right here. I want to anchor my hand right on my sternum so my fingers are right below my collarbone. I don't want my fingers on my collarbone. Now I call this sticky hands. My hand can literally act like a little sticky hand and glue to my sternum. I'm not using a lot of muscular effort through this left side of my body. It literally is going to glue here. Now, depending on your particular set of unique restrictions in your body, this might be all you need for a minute. You might feel immediately gravity start to pull on something up higher in the chain of your neck, or even back here into the back of your neck, in your head. For myself, I can feel that immediately here under my right collarbone. So I'm going to stay here. Now, we call this a few different things. Sometimes I just call it opening through the front of the neck and throat. Cervical stretch is the technical term. Call it what you want, but think of it in terms of opening everything here that's been pulled forward and has you collapsing forward, so that the back of your head and neck and shoulders are trying their best to hold you upright. That's what's happening. So I'm going to start to slow my own breathing, feel the support of the chair in my body, under my body, feel the connection of my hand here. Again, I'm hardly working at all there. It's like I've got my hand stuck to my sternum, allowing this part to gain a bit of space. As I feel into that, I can feel an old cough. This tends to move stuff behind my sternum and often, frequently, brings up coughing. I apologize in advance. So as I'm here, and honestly, if it does bring up coughing, that's a good thing. You're starting to move some congestion that's been stuck there in the tissues, in glute tissues. That's not a bad thing. But as I stay here, I'm letting my spine soften and settle even more into my pelvis. And I'm going to start to explore what it's like to kind of lean my head back. Now, if I thought about this, I might have had my chair closer to the wall, so eventually my head can be supported by the wall. Not required, but I can feel that might have been nice. Now, I'm not just trying to bend my neck back. I'm actually looking to elongate or telescope through the front of my neck. It's not just a tipping backwards. I want to feel this area start to get some space. which it is. Keys here for me, key points for me are to allow my spine to settle into my pelvis. I want to feel my shoulders just drop toward the floor. I want to keep a good anchor here with my left hand. Oftentimes you'll feel this, you might feel this up into your sinuses, and get into the TMJ area, into your ears, all the way to the top of your skull, again, depending on your own unique pattern of restrictions. If I find myself tipping forward, I do want to bring my awareness to the back of the chair and let myself be supported there. Now, there is, for me, a natural drifting motion that starts as I get space there. This isn't a rigid keep my neck and head bent backwards as much as possible. My body does eventually pull out of that and just unwind a bit through the tissues before I come back into that extension, which feels much different the second time. Much less tension here. So we've been there for that minimum of 3 to 5 minutes, which is really good. I'm going to shift just a little bit. I want to get a bit of a side bending release also. So I'm going to shift this hand just a bit more so it's more centered over the right shoulder, and then just test out motion a little bit with my head to the left. Now with this, again, I'm not just looking to bend my neck. I actually want to imagine a long line from my right side of the body up my neck and out my head, like I'm stretching between my fingertips and the top of my head, not just bending. I've got the same sense of gluing right in front of this right shoulder. This may tend to bring itself into that same extension of your neck, or it might be more of a rotational release. Let this be an organic, felt sense of what your body needs at the moment. Don't think about it too hard. If your neck and shoulder and head need to rotate into a release, they will. You don't get in the way. They need just a side bending release. That will feel good. Let this feel good and helpful. You don't have to think about it. I taught at the gym for a long time and taught very static, structured stretching. That can do some good. It's good to stretch, but it won't get into myofascial restrictions like a more slow, natural, organic stretching will. Your body knows what it needs. Again, the trick is to get your brain out of the way. So again, I'm telescoping, thinking of lengthening rather than just bending, which feels really, really good in my neck. You might be curious about what your hand and arm might do while you're in this stretch. I tend to find that my palm wants to turn and rotate so it's more up rather than down. Now that starts to get into a different area of restriction in my shoulder, which I will address later in a different way. For now, I'm keeping my focus on the front of my neck, the front of my throat, the side of my neck and throat. Letting this be easy. You might feel any number of sensations as you stay with this good sense of sticky hand under your collarbone. Again, this may reach into the back of your neck, into the actual insides of your throat, You might feel sensations in your teeth that you haven't before. That's always kind of fun. Slow your own breathing. Soften in your body. I've got a good sense of support from the chair behind me right now. It feels like my neck might need to pop, which is always an interesting sensation when there's space there. Any floaty, drifty movement of your arm, your neck, your head as tissues start to get some space and start to unwind. Allow those as much as you possibly can. There's nothing really to think about here, nothing really to do. Let this be easy. Let it feel good. And after 3 to 5 minutes or so, I'm going to come out of that. Let my hand unglue from that right side of my chest. I tend to roll my shoulders. I tend to test movement. Now, I tend to get crackly here in the back of my head as there's space, which feels good. The shoulder, this side of my neck feels much more open. So I'm going to do the other side. Again, a bit off center toward the left. Sticky hand. Gravity does the work. I don't have a lot of muscular tension here on this right side of my shoulder. I don't want to undo what I just did on that right side. So when your hand's stuck there really nice and good, gravity starts to do the work, opening in front of the collarbone and the front of the shoulder. Again, you might feel this immediately up into the side of your neck, the front of your throat, up into up into your TMJ area. You might start to cough. And initially here, I do have this left arm resting on my leg, but I can feel it's going to come out to my side in a moment. So I'm going to start to telescope along this side of my neck and head. Not just side bending, I can side bend. I don't need to touch my ear to my shoulder. It's a very traditional type of stretch. I want to actually lengthen between my fingertips and the top of my head. My hand is an anchor on the front of my chest, front of my left shoulder, opening all of this space here. Allow your spine to settle into your pelvis. Feel the back of the chair, the wall, whatever you have behind you, let that support your body also. You want to let as much muscular effort ease as you can. With good myofascial self-release, you might feel sensations anywhere in your body because the myofascial system is totally connected, uninterrupted, head to toe, front to back, side to side, top to bottom, an uninterrupted connective tissue, a connected tissue web. I hope I got that right. Because it's completely connected, you might feel sensations anywhere in your body, not just here where you're working. Be curious about those. I'll give you a bit of information about where you might do some self-treatment later. I'll give you a bit of information about how the entirety of your body's working. We actually need that for good health, an awareness of what our body's doing. Trust what you feel. Try not to question or work too hard at it. Let this be easy. Now, again, depending on your own particular unique set of myofascial restrictions, you might feel any number of things. On this left side, I can actually feel this pull back into my shoulder blade. I'm not able to rotate this left hand so that the palm's more facing up yet. There's something not quite right in my left shoulder. It's not a surprise. That's not new. I've been working with this over time. If you have a desk job, this is hugely important for undoing the rounding and slumping that happens in the shoulders. Excellent if you're a computer worker, a gamer, a texter, anything that gets a forward head posture, opening and lengthening through the front and sides of the neck and throat. hugely beneficial and important to good neck health. Avoiding a lot of the trouble that I see with fusions, with slipped discs, with occipital neuralgia. All those things are an indication that something in the back is trying to hold you upright while everything in the front is pulling you forward and down. It's going to do a lot of that. This takes a little bit of quality time, a little bit of myofascial treatment every day. Let this be easy. Let it feel good. Again, slowing my own breathing, quieting in my own mind as I feel what's happening through the left side of my neck, up behind my ear. Almost like a tiredness that's been holding on for a while, actually. I can feel I need a bit of different work on this left shoulder. But I'm going to stay with this stretch because it does feel good. It feels needed and helpful. Good myofascial release happens over a period of 3 to 5 minutes or longer. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly come out of that side bending. And I tend to get crackly at the back of my head and up into my ears. I know something started to move. As I rounded and rolled my shoulders there, I could feel these top ribs adjust. Our first and second ribs here tend to get really stuck. I can actually feel mine now. We want all those things to move. It's a bit of myofascial treatment today for working through front of neck and throat, which you might not have any awareness of tightness. But if you feel tightness, tension, pain anywhere in the back of your neck, shoulders, or head, you need this. I need this. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time. So just to recap, I've spent some time this morning pre-travel getting my body ready to have a good flight. I've spent some time in side bent sitting with some rotational releases, some hip movement exploration, flipped my legs around the other direction, side bent again with some rotation, some hip movement. Later on, as I get on the plane, I will use my ball behind my upper back, behind my sacrum, under hips, under legs. I do want to keep my body mobile as much as possible when I'm kind of stuck in that position or just squished this way, trying not to touch someone on either side of me. So, hope that helps. Some fun travel tips from the Salt Lake City Airport this morning as we head into the travel season. Wishing you all safe and happy travels, happy holidays. We'll see you next time.